3 real home alone near-death experiences. Listen to the sufferer's words. Being home alone could bring near-death experiences sometimes that give people traumas for their whole life. Same kind of incidents happened with Jake, Chris, and Joseph. Today, I'll be sharing those breathtaking incidents. Story number 1. Studying night became the worst nightmare. This incident happened when I was 14. Now I'm a dad of 2 kids, but that night still haunts me. It's about 2004 when we shifted into a century-old house in North Carolina. One night our family had dinner, but I preferred to stay home because I had exams right over the corner. It was about 11:45 p.m., and I was in the first floor room preparing for my exams. Suddenly I heard water flowing in the bathroom. I went to see, and water was running through the shower. I closed it and returned back. But I was shocked that the light of the room went on and off of its own. I gathered some courage and turned it on. Then I heard some feminine voices in the room next to mine. I went there to see, but there was no one. I thought it was just some hallucination, so I went to wash my face. When I came back, I saw something that nearly choked me to death. There was a woman in black clothes and a chain standing in the middle of the room with blood all over the floor. I threw the face wash that I had in my hand there and started running down the stairs. I got a slap over my back and out of nowhere, on my back. Next thing that I remember is that I was in bed with a fever in the morning. My family told me that they'd found me laying beside the stairs. When I went back up, the face wash was there, but there was no blood. I left that room permanently and nothing like this happened again. But still, whenever I go upstairs, all that incident comes in front of my eyes. Sometimes I think about the sleepless nights I had because of this and regret not going to dinner with my family that night. Have you ever stayed at an old house? They're more likely to give this kind of odd experience. Story 2. Nearly got attacked by a bear. I'm Jake, a 17-year-old, and live with my mum and a little sister in a house by the woods. It was a November night. My mum was busy at work with the night shift and my sister preferred to stay at her friend's house. I was home all alone and my mum was expected to be back till 12 a.m. It was around 10 p.m. while I was reading a novel in my room. Suddenly I heard some weird sounds from the backyard, so I tried to get a sight out of my room's window that opened into the backyard, but couldn't find anything suspicious and the voices suddenly stopped. I went back and instead of playing, kept the doll in the cupboard and went to brush before sleeping. On my way back to the room, I heard the same voices again, but this time it was from the garage instead of the backyard. I tried to ignore it and went to bed saying it's nothing but just some hallucinations. But the voices resumed again and I couldn't sleep at all. Finally, I decided to go out and have a look at it. I went down the stairs and as soon as I opened the lounge door, a bear was in front of me with blood all around his face. He was having a feast over a deer in the garage. I got stunned from fear, but as I saw him running toward me, I rushed back toward the door and locked myself in. My heart was about to come out of my chest and I wasn't able to catch my breath. I could still listen to the voice of his paw scratching the wooden door to find a way in. My mind didn't work at the time and I didn't even have the courage to pick up the phone and call the police or my mum. I couldn't see a way out of it instead of rushing to my room and locking myself in. Nearly after an hour and a half, my mum came back and fortunately the bear was gone by then. My heart was still beating at an alarming rate. She placed me right beside her chest and waited till I caught my breath back. Then she started inquiring about what had happened. I told her everything and she scolded me why I didn't call the authorities. After all, she brought me in the room with her and I finally slept. Jake says that it's been 2 years to this incident, but the claw prints are still on the door and he'll regret this night for the rest of his life. What do you think if you catch yourself in a situation of that kind? Have you called authorities or would have ended up doing what Jake did? Story 3. Staying at Hostel turned out to be a menace. I've just finished my degree and returned back to my hometown. Before that, I spent 4 years pursuing my education from the city. In those years, I used to live in a hostel. My room was on the first floor, and the second floor rooms were also unfilled because of insufficient candidates. I was in the second year, and the college unexpectedly announced holidays because of excessive snowfall. Most of the students left the hostel in the first moments, but I had to collect some important documents from there. They were supposed to come in a window of 3 to 4 days, so I preferred to stay at the hostel. Guards insisted that I should leave the hostel too, but I told them my situation and they let me stay somehow. It was the third night after the announcement and the hostel seemed completely lifeless. I was the only one left in the building. I turned off the lights and went to sleep. During midnight, I woke up from some voices. It felt like some women were talking in the room beside mine. I went there to see, but there was no one. Then I heard the same voices from the upper portion. I was a bit scared, but still managed to get there. When I went there, I saw a black cat rushing out toward the stairs and suddenly it disappeared into thin air. While I was coming back to my room, I saw a woman emitting witchy energy sitting in my bed. I rushed backwards to get out of there as soon as possible. One of the guys saw me and tried to comfort me. It took ages to catch my breath back, but I didn't find the courage to tell it all to them, thinking that it might make me appear like a fool. They were still generous enough to make me stay with them, and the next day I got those documents and left that place as early as I could. Then I spent 2 more years there, but never witnessed or heard about anything like this again. I don't know if it was something real or just a picturization of something non-existent, but whatever it was, it scared me to death, and I wish no one ever has to experience anything like that, ever. What do you think? Was it a good choice to stay at a hostel alone just to get some documents? That's it for today. Thanks Chris, Jake and Joseph for sharing their experiences. If you want to listen more to this kind of story, make sure you subscribe to us and hit the bell icon button. If something like this ever happened to you in your life, we're more than eager to listen to you.